Come closer into this side of the frame right here. There you go. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one right there. Yes, that's the one.
That's it, baby.
Yeah.
All right, so show me what's up. So this is like, did you really make issues? There's issues, real magazines?
No, there's no real magazines. I have the magazines for sale over there.
Okay.
And that also gets you into the raffle. But so what I did was, I've been to all of these places, right? So, and every place that I went, except for Belize, I was the only black person I saw the whole day. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yosemite, Bonaire, all of these places, right? So, I always wanted to. As a kid, I grew up watching reading National Geographics, and as a photographer and as an adventurer, I like to be outside and doing shit. They're never gonna let me in there. They wasn't gonna never let your boy into National Geographic, right? So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do National Negrographic, right? The funny part is that anytime anybody reads this, they still see Geographic.
Yeah,
right? You know what I'm
I
saying?
know. It's kind of a optical illusion.
It is. Yeah. So, but yeah, all of these places I went, and then of course, like the caption. If you read the captions, they are kind of geared as educational to people who aren't us, right? But also like something that you would know if you were us, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking to us,
and like I've had some questions like about this one over here in the Caribbean. You know what I mean? They're like, well, what is it with the Hennessy? Because I put like at the top it was like, hey, when on your way back, stop at the duty free and give me the white Hennessy.
Just a little.
Yeah, because everybody knows like when you know somebody goes to the Caribbean and you black, somebody, your cousin or somebody like, man, give me a bottle from the duty free, right? And then I also I mentioned that when people go to the Caribbean, you see people getting in the water, but they only get in knee deep, right?
Right.
Black women, primarily, right? Because the hair, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're like, I got in the water. I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm talking shit because I'm a scuba diver. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the water, right? But so it's just these kind of little things that are just funny.
To us.
Yeah, it's to us.
So I gotta read every one of these.
Yeah, you gotta read it for sure.
What the fuck is that thing? I ain't even heard of Bonaire.
Bonaire is in the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. It's off the coast of Venezuela.
Yeah.
We don't like white people's pools.
No.
That's what we don't like.
Yeah,
We're natural swimmers.
I don't get in the pool.
The pool is,
But that's real. I don't share water with white people.
Yes.
I don't.
That's what so that's the thing. Like, will you swim?
I don't.
What?
People
Not
like,
around you.
Pool, I'm like, I don't do pools, man. I don't share water with white people. Like last time I did that shit, it was like 2006, and I was sitting in the hot tub at the homie's hot tub by a white dude, and I ended up with ringworm on my arm right here.
Are you serious?
And that was it. That was it for me. Dog. I was like, I'm never getting in water with white people again.
That's
Ever.
funny.
Now, if you had a pool in your backyard, I'm getting in the pool, right?
Yeah. You just had.
So, can you introduce yourself and where are we right now?
I'm Fa'al Ali, and we are at the People, Places, and Things Gallery for my exhibition called National Negrographic.
Yeah. So, tell us about this exhibit. What inspired it? Yeah.
This exhibit was born out of my curiosity and my love for adventure. As a kid, when I moved from LA to Ann Arbor, Michigan, my neighbor upstairs was a Boy Scout, and he would give me all of these old National Geographic magazines, and I would go through them, and I was always curious about maps and like what other places in the world look like, So I would go there and my mind would imagine what I would be like in these places. So I've always had a love for, the adventure. And as I got older, that never changed. But, I always just wanted to go further and see what I could see. So I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years now. And if I ever had a job, I would take a job and quit my entrepreneurial, lifestyle if it was for National Geographic, right? But it's good old boys club. They're not gonna let me in there, right? And I do all the things that they do. You know, I'm an underwater cinematographer. I'm a above water cinematographer. I'm a photographer. I'm a drone pilot. Yeah, I'm a rescue diver. So I think I could add some value to that, and also, you know, I felt like they needed a diversity hire. I've tried to reach out to them and see what the pathways are to that, but just kind of ended at dead ends. So I decided I was going to create National Negrographic, right? And as somebody who grew up in the graffiti world and the street art world, these covers are kind of a nod to that street art, you know, being able to take something that exists and flip it into something else, right? It's kind of like sampling in hip hop. So it's essentially it's parody. I'm not really trying to make a National Negrographic publication, right? But for this particular installation, I wanted to use the street art prowess and create Nat Negro, right? And this is really just a pop-up for my full exhibition at Alto Gallery in January, which won't be these covers. It will actually be a different collection of photography of mine. A little bit more Americana and some actual like landscape.
Can you run us through some of your favorite photos in this gallery?
Some of my favorite photos are.
We can walk up there.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
You know, I've kind of got a snarky sense of humor. Sometime I grew up listening to watching a lot of Monty Python comedy as a kid, British humor. But I really like this Caribbean one because of the captions, and I actually in this photo I was essentially breaking the law because this was roped off, and I had to, in order to get this angle, I had to hop a fence and go in there, get the shot, and then get the hell out real quick, you know. And that was fun. As somebody who grew up doing graffiti and being a vandal, always the adventure to get the shot, you know. Since I can't be in the jungle waiting in a tree for a week for a jaguar, I'll do this, you know what I mean? And I like that one. I think one of my other favorite ones is this one here.
Damn, I'm gonna have to cop this, bro.
Please do.
So what's that? How do I do that? Just
Same
Venmo?
way. It's in the app as well. This one in California I liked. That was in Carlsbad, and that was during COVID. It was like at the heart of COVID, and nobody was on the beach. And I had met this girl through a friend of mine, and we were falling in love. I was in love, you know. And she had got up to go to the bathroom. We were on the beach smoking a joint, and she got up, and the sun had started to set and come right behind this pier. This is Tower 10 in Oceanside, and not that the photo is my favorite photo, but the moment where I was at, you know. COVID was something like, as an introvert, COVID was some of the happiest years of my life. I fucking loved COVID, like, because I was outside, I was traveling, the world was empty, and I was having a blast, right? I wasn't scared of COVID. I never got COVID, you know, and so this was just right when they let people travel. I had been talking to her on the phone for like 6 months, had never really seen her in person, and I got up, and she was fine as hell, and I flew my ass out there and had a great weekend with her, and then we were together for about 3 years after that. You know, it was pretty cool. And then I also like this one because this was kind of the end of our relationship. It was like the very last like trip that we took. We went to Montana, and we had eaten some mushrooms, and we had gotten an argument about something, and it was cold outside. We were staying in yurts in like West Montana, and I was determined to take pictures of the night sky because I love to do that. And so I went out and left her in the yurt, and I went out there and sat in this open field next to a river till like 5 in the morning. And the very next morning, about 6 hours later, I wake up, and the police and the fire truck were out there, and right where I was standing at, a girl who worked at the resort I was at got mauled by a bear in this, like, essentially the same spot. And
Killed?
Killed, yeah, for sure, got killed. They told it when you pull into this resort, it's called Under Canvas. They say don't go anywhere by yourself, and I think that's why she was pissed off, because I was going out there by myself and she didn't want to go, right? Because it was cold.
Yeah.
And even in like August in the summertime in Montana, it was cold, and I was determined. So I was very lucky. God was looking out for me, because or either the bear was asleep or something. But it was like 8 in the morning when she got mauled, so that was pretty scary. But yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Nice. But yeah, so when you took that photo, Was that after or before you guys broke up?
Oh, that was before.
That was
We
before,
didn't break
yeah.
up until
Oh,
like
at the trip.
yeah, at the end of the trip. Yeah,
But
for sure.
Sorry about that.
It's
I get it.
I dodged a bullet.
Yeah? Good to hear. You said you were doing entrepreneurship for 25 years.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yep.
Was that videography, photo work, or like other business stuff?
No, it was other
Yeah.
business. My first legitimate business was a recording studio. Like a lot of kids, I grew up in the hood. I wanted to be a rapper and a producer, and I ended up getting into community college and went to school for audio engineering. But the main professor of that program was somebody that I knew, and he had a lot of respect for me because I had been doing this already. I'd already been learning how. I was already an audio engineer and I was already a producer, right? I'd been doing it on my own for years, but I just wanted the accreditation, right? So I decided I was going to go to school, and I got a Pell Grant to pay for my school, and then it was like another like $6,000 after my school was paid for, and I took that money, and I was supposed to buy books and equipment, and I took that money and I bought a studio, right? I bought a bunch of stuff. I bought a keyboard and a bunch of studio equipment and some microphones, and I put it in my basement, and I started my own little studio, and I was charging about $45 an hour to record, anybody who wanted to come in there. It didn't matter what kind of genre of music it was, So that was my very first entrepreneurial venture, and because I learned how to do nonlinear editing, right? Nonlinear editing, whether it's audio, whether it's video, it was the same thing. So once I got a hold of a camera, I essentially already knew how to edit, right? And I picked up a camera out of like necessity, and then I realized I'm actually pretty good with this thing, So, and then I started from there. Yeah, it's been videography for a while now, for probably about, I'd say 20 years now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life?
I'm making short films right now. I do a lot of client-based work, but I'm setting my son up to take over this business. He's going to Denver School of the Arts, even though he doesn't want to. He's fighting me tooth and nail about it. But the whole goal is when he gets out of school and he graduates in 4 years, he's going as a freshman, I can just give him this business because he's just as good as with the camera as I am. Right? He's been holding cameras since he was 3 years old, and he just broke his first one last year. He dropped it somewhere. I was surprised because he hasn't done that before. But the whole goal is like, hey, once you're done with this, you learn the business of it. You learn more than I learned because I'm self-taught, right? You get the business, and I go into my consulting work or filmmaking, rather than client-based work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I actually am shooting a bunch of documentaries now. I'm working on a documentary about the healthcare system and how it mistreats black women, and how they're either underdiagnosed, overdiagnosed, how there's a lot of malpractice that doesn't get solved, and that's basically based off my own experience with my mother before she passed away. And, so a lot of documentary filmmaking, but also like some narrative stories. I'm not necessarily the best writer, but I make things look beautiful in frame. So I'm looking to open myself up to writing and different things.
So how old's your son right now?
He's 14.
He's 14.
Yeah.
How was it when you got him, and then what was that a drastic change in your life?
Super drastic change in my life. My son, I'm a single dad. I've had full custody of him since he was 2 months old. So I've been doing it alone, right? Which is also why I've been an entrepreneur for as long as I have, because I had nowhere to take this baby. Right? When I got this baby, I'm the only person in my family who lives in Colorado besides my kids. Both of them are here now. So I had nowhere to take him. So I couldn't hold down a job. You know what I mean? I had to care for my son. So I had to figure out how to make a lifestyle that I would be able to be present, but also make enough money to afford a child, and so that's kind of what solidified me as who I am today, is to be able to say, you know what, this kid put me in this position. I put myself in the position having a kid, but also like he made me dig deep and want more, right? Rather than like, and one of the things I always told my son, I was like, you'll never see me have a boss. I asked him, I said, you ever see me calling you? Say I got to call my boss and ask him for the time off or anything? He's like, no. I'm like, that's intentional, Like I want you to know that you can make a living without having to ask for anything for anybody, you know.
Yeah. And would that be the biggest piece of advice you'd have for teenagers, young adults today?
No, because everything isn't for everybody, you know. This
Yeah.
shit is hard, you know what I mean? But I'm a street dude, so I grew up hustling. So this is nothing for me. It's just I made sure that I wasn't taking penitentiary chances. I'm doing something legitimate, right? Not doing something, and I've always been an artist, so I just wanted to find a way to mesh those things, you know. The biggest advice I would give to teenagers is learn how to learn. Right? You can learn anything if you learn how to learn, you know. If you want to learn how to, you know, code, or you want to learn how to run a camera, if you have the capacity and the ability to learn how to learn something, whether it's your school books, if you can learn to do algebra, you can learn to do anything, you know. So like just learning how to learn is an important thing.
Nice. And yeah, lastly, what's been the biggest highlight of having this exhibit up? Was there someone that came in here that you're surprised about?
No, you know, I owned a gallery for about 5 years, and I closed it down about 1.5 years ago. So the highlight was like being able to, like, you know, I hung this show in like 15 minutes, right? My friend who curating the space was like, it's gonna take you a couple hours. I said, man, I could do this with my eyes closed. But getting back into that feeling and remembering why I didn't want to do it anymore is kind of like, you know, was the highlight of it. And although I'm grateful for the opportunity to show my work here, but it reminded me that I've done a lot of growth, right? You know, since then, and since being the gallery guy, right? And that's not who I really was. That was a side business for me, you know. It was another means of income, but I became the gallery guy for so many years when I'm happy being the camera guy. You know, that's my sweet spot, and that's where I'm happiest at.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Any last words for the Denver arts scene community?
Yeah, man, find me and get on my database, you know, and let's connect, and don't, you know, make sure you're doing shit that makes people feel a certain kind of way. Like, don't be safe with your art, you know. Don't do things just because it's trendy or because it's you've seen somebody else do it. Like, really do your best to piss people off with your art or make people question why you're doing things, because if you're not doing that, it's not art, it's just marketing and branding, you know. Make people think about what they're watching and what they're doing and why you're doing it, you know. That's my advice.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You're a good interviewer.
Yeah?
Yeah, for
Thanks,
sure.
sir.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, bro.